Welcome to The Explainer. We're jumping right into the exact systematic blueprint for real estate success. We're tossing out the myths today and focusing entirely on the proven engine that actually gets results. If you want to know what truly separates the agents who build a massive business from the ones who just walk away in year one, well, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap. We are hitting 5 key areas today. First, the hook, myth versus reality. Then, mindset first. Third, we'll break down the 5-phase engine. Number 4 is the veteran advantage. And finally, we'll map out your exact timeline to success.
All right, part 1, the hook, myth versus reality. Let's kick things off with a pretty harsh reality about the industry that catches, honestly, almost all new agents totally off guard. Tens of thousands of newly licensed agents jump into this business every single year, completely fired up. But here's the crazy truth. Most of them wash out inside of 24 months. They just disappear. Because guess what? Getting the license was never the hard part. The reason they fail is they just sort of wait around for results instead of treating real estate like the highly structured business it actually is. Getting the license gets you in the door, sure, but staying in the room, completely different game. And that leads to the most expensive lie new agents buy into, the myth of natural talent and charm. You know, the idea that if you're just naturally good at selling or super outgoing, the business is just going to magically flock to you. No way. The reality? The top producers out there closing 40 deals a year, they aren't necessarily more charming than you. They simply run a repeatable, systematized marketing engine, and they are incredibly disciplined about it. Success in real estate isn't discovered, it is manufactured. Moving right along to part 2, mindset first, right before technical skills. Because before we even touch things like lead generation or scripts or writing contracts, we absolutely have to talk about the bedrock of the whole operation, your inner game. There's this quote I absolutely love. Growth is a daily decision before it is ever a result. It perfectly captures why a transformational mindset absolutely must happen before you bother developing any technical skills. Real estate is literally packed with rejection, serious discomfort, and a notoriously long runway before you ever cash that first check. You have to actively decide to grow every single day. Because let's be real, the technical skills, you could literally memorize a listing presentation in a weekend. The tactics are the easy part. The real battle, the actual hard work, is that inner game. It's how you handle rejection. It's surviving those really long runways and figuring out how to keep showing up and doing the work when nobody is watching to pat you on the back. You've got to rewire that inner game first, or the technical stuff won't even matter. Okay, part 3, the 5-phase engine, building the blueprint. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts. These are the exact 5 phases every single successful agent runs to systematize their tasks and basically guarantee consistent results. These are the sequential steps of a real business, and I want you to notice how the energy naturally stacks up from front to back. Step 1, capture leads. Step 2, connect with them. Step 3, serve the client. Step 4, manage the contract. And step 5, close. But hey, spoiler alert here, the close is absolutely not the finish line. Turning a handled client into a lifelong source of repeat and referral business, that is how you build a totally bulletproof pipeline. So how do you actually divide your time across these steps? It's all weighted at the front. 40% of your effort goes into capture. 30% goes to connect, which is turning that captured name into an actual genuine relationship. Only 20% goes to client work, like consultations and showings, and a tiny 10% goes to contract management and paperwork. Your front-end engine is doing the vast majority of the heavy lifting. I really want to zero in on that massive 40% chunk dedicated strictly to the capture phase. Lead generation. Capturing leads must be your absolute #1 primary focus, period. Whether you feel like it or not, on any given Tuesday, you have to make the calls, create the content, hit up your sphere of influence, and follow up. That single activity is quietly dictating your entire future income. And here is why that 40% is just so absolutely crucial. Ignoring the capture phase is the #1 reason new agents fail. Almost every single washout traces right back to a dry pipeline. If you neglect this phase, your business will flat out fail. I don't care how much raw talent or charisma you have, a winning personality simply cannot save a pipeline that was never filled in the first place. Skill without a marketing system is really just a well-kept secret. Which brings us perfectly to part 4, the veteran advantage military discipline.
Who is naturally wired to just wake up and run this kind of disciplined system every single day? Let's talk about the incredible natural edge that military veterans bring to the table here. The military naturally trains some very specific, highly valuable traits into its service members. And that means veterans walk into the real estate world already holding the exact mental framework that most civilian agents wash out trying to build. We call it the GRIT advantage: growth, resilience, integrity, and tenacity. That is exactly the wiring you need for long-term real estate success. To break that down a bit more, veterans have this ingrained discipline even when it is wildly inconvenient. They have serious follow-through under stress, a massive bias toward action, and maybe most importantly, the ability to take a really harsh debrief, adjust their plan, and execute again the very next morning. Because of that military discipline, veterans have this completely unfair advantage when it comes to executing a daily marketing system and pushing through the totally unglamorous everyday infrastructure of this business. And that brings us to our final section, Part 5, Timeline to Success, Predictable Income. We need to set some proper expectations here and look at the actual growth timeline, from the day you start training all the way to building reliable, predictable income. This journey happens in highly predictable stages. On day 1, you're getting your training and your toolkit. So your CRM, your website, getting your marketing rhythm down. Around that 90-day mark, if you're actually sticking to the plan, you should be aiming for your first closed transaction. Between 3 to 6 months, you are going to be relying heavily on a required financial cushion. And finally, right around months 6 to 12, the system really pays off and you finally start seeing durable, predictable income. You got to plant the seeds long before you can harvest the crop. There's a very true, very old saying in this industry: desperate agents make poor decisions. You have to treat your real estate practice exactly like a tech startup, which means you need to plan a runway. Having that 3 to 6 month savings cushion is critical. Why? Because it completely removes the desperation from your early deals. You literally never want to negotiate a contract while stressing about an empty bank account. Planning a runway gives your system the actual breathing room it needs to work and compound. So we've gone through the 5-phase engine, the mindset transformation you absolutely need, and the realistic timeline to get there. If you are finally ready to trade in that super comfortable myth of natural talent for a rigorous, systematic blueprint that strictly rewards pure discipline, well, it all comes down to one question. Is real estate your next mission? The success is sitting right there, waiting to be manufactured. Will you be the one to build it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.